there's a huge debate about whether college is worth it or not. And I'm having this discussion now in my family is, my view is that unless you're going after a licensed career path like a doctor or a lawyer or an architect or something like that, that requires a college experience and a college degree, college might not be the best thing in terms of gaining experience. In fact, I tell a lot of young adults that are interested in pursuing an MBA. I say the best MBA is opening your own business and learning in the real world, because that's going to give you a more wider variety of experiences to lean on and learn from than what a college textbook or a case study would show you. Bam! Yo, what's up, everybody? This is the N2N podcast. I'm your host, Dr. N2N, and as my friends call me, the Prolific Ninja, or just Ninja, because my listeners are my friends too. You can call me Ninja as well. This is the N2N podcast, the alpha to the omega, the beginning to the end, talking about life, opportunity, entrepreneurship, motivation, inspiration in this all-you-can-eat buffet called life. I was talking to my son the other day. He used this expression. It might be old by now: cap and no cap. Basically saying, hey, man, if that's cap, that means you're lying. It's capped. No cap means, hey, that's facts, truth. But in talking to him in their colloquial teenage vernacular, it reminded me of an expression that I used when I grew up, and more applicable towards life. And basically, the expression was, you rise to the level of your incompetence. Okay, think about that for a minute. You rise to the level of your incompetence. We spoke in a couple podcast episodes ago about that graph where, you're starting out, and then you reach this great inflection point where you're growing, and then you plateau. And then you just kind of sit there until you hit another inflection point and keep going on a grand scale, a larger graph over time. Well, that plateau is your cap for that moment. That is the level of your incompetency, okay? Because naturally, if you were more competent, you would not plateau. You would not flatline. So it's a measurement of your incompetence. So you rise to the level of your incompetence. And so I learned that at a very young age as a teenager, and it really struck home to me, because if you really think about it, you have your own ceiling, and that's within you, created by yourself. You are responsible for that ceiling of incompetence. Sounds very harsh, sounds very negative, but it's meant to be, because that idea, when broken down, motivated me to keep constantly increasing my level of competence. Okay, so when we talk about rising to your level of incompetence, what does incompetence mean? What is it a mixture of? Well, naturally, by definition, incompetence is things you cannot do. That, because if you're competent, you could do it. But what entails incompetence or competency in the alternative? Well, there are four factors in my view. The first and most basic is skill. Skill. Okay, so for example, in sports and athletics, my son, plays basketball. 80% of players are right-handed, let's say, right? But that works fine at, grade school level, middle school maybe. But as you get into high school and for sure in college and semi-pro and pro, you got to be able to go both ways, dribbling the ball, meaning left and right hand. So if you're a right hand dominant and are unable to go left, well, you're going to peak out at a certain level of competition, okay? And it's definitely perhaps not high school, and it's definitely not college or pro, semi-pro, okay? And that's just a skill set. So as applied to your work or your career, right, certain skills are necessary in your vocation: writing, researching, communication, sales, just whatever the skills required for your vocation is your level of competency. So if you wanted to move to a different career path or earn more, naturally you're going to have to develop more skills. Okay, so skills is the first area of a measurement of competency or incompetency. The second area is knowledge, a knowledge base, right? So, for example, again, through my education, right? Went through high school, finished second in my class, went to college, undergraduate, graduated in 3 years, went to medical school, went to law school, got my master's in finance, and then here I am as an entrepreneur, but also as a professional. Okay, but along that entire career path so far, I've constantly had to increase my knowledge base. Okay, so in college, in pre-med, had to read all those textbooks. Okay, in medical school, had to read all those textbooks, often 100, 200 pages in a night to get to the next day's lesson plan. In law school, of course, you have to read a ton. Law is all about language and word construction. Okay, in finance, got to read all those textbooks. And in life, you have all these self-help, self-improvement, self-motivational books. And that's why reading is so important, because you're constantly increasing your knowledge base. Again, I'll reiterate that I've yet to meet a successful person, however you define success, whether by money, career, achievement, impact on the community. I've yet to meet a very successful person who does not make daily reading a habit, especially motivational, philosophical, educational type books. So knowledge base, expanding your knowledge base allows you to what? Push your limits further and increase your level of competency. Okay. The third area where you could change or improve to increase that competency level is experience. Okay. I make it a motto to myself and for the people in my network to try to get as much exposure to different environments as possible. And why is that important? Because the more you get to experience out of life, the more perspective you have to grow your way of thinking, your critical thinking skills, and how you approach certain problems. Problem solving is a skill to adapt to raise your competency level. People will pay high value for the ability, for your ability to solve problems. Okay, so exposure to different environments, different scenarios, different cultures, all of that increases experience. But the second area that can increase experience is apprenticeships and trade schools. Okay, there's a huge debate about whether college is worth it or not, and I'm having this discussion now in my family. My view is that unless you're going after a licensed career path like a doctor or a lawyer or an architect or something like that that requires a college experience and a college degree, college might not be the best thing in terms of gaining experience. In fact, I tell a lot of young adults that are interested in pursuing an MBA, I say the best MBA is opening your own business and learning in the real world, because that's going to give you a more wider variety of experiences to lean on and learn from than what a college textbook or a case study would show you. Okay, vocational schools and trade schools where you're learning through apprenticeships. It takes me back to when I was in medical school. It was 2 years of heavy classwork and 2 years of clinical work where we're actually on the medical rounds in the hospitals, in clinics, seeing patients, getting that hands-on experience. So the more experience you have, the higher the level of competency you can get. And with that, obviously, you're going to rise up, okay? And then the fourth area of competency, or increasing your level of competency, is intangibles. And what do I mean by that? Intangibles are things like desire, motivation, drive, inspiration, your why. What do you hope to achieve with your life and your time? Mental toughness, mental endurance, grit. Because why? Before, I previously alluded to your level of incompetency as a ceiling, okay? When you're trying to push that ceiling up higher, what are you going to experience? Frustration, failure, difficulty, challenges, things not going your way. Okay? Sometimes maybe even depression because things aren't going your way. You're not getting what you want. Okay? And in understanding that, you actually have to flip it, because those feelings of failure or frustration or not getting what you want, that's you testing your ceiling. Okay? So your grit, your drive, your why, your mental toughness is either going to do two things for you. If you have it, you're going to push through your ceiling. If you don't have it, you're going to quit and stay exactly where you are. Okay, so that is the hardest concept to grasp, and a lot of people, and the category that a lot of people lack is that fourth aspect. That's why doing things like 75 Hard, and which I've talked about in another podcast, or challenging yourself daily, or being disciplined, is so important in raising your level of competency to get to that next level for you. Okay, that is the most important reason. Because if you have that grit, if you have that mental toughness, that endurance, that dedication, and knowing your why where you want to go, or what do you want to do with the limited time that you have to make an impact in this world and leave your legacy, that's the most important. So, to sum up, we always rise to our level of incompetency. So in determining where you want to go in life and what you want in life, you have to have this mindset of constantly increasing your level of competency so that you don't reach a level of incompetency. Focus on your skills, expand your knowledge base, and read. Get as many experiences, or expose yourself to as many experiences as possible, and build internally those intangible things like grit and mental toughness. And you'll constantly be increasing that plateau and getting to that next level. That's where I am right now, right? And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this podcast, is to increase my level of competency so that I can reach the goals that I want to reach through this podcast and through my work for the community. Once again, this is the N2N podcast. Follow us on all socials, N2N podcast. If you found some value out of this, please do like, share this podcast. It helps us build our audience and our traction. And I look forward to seeing you again, the Prolific Ninja N2N podcast. Talk to you soon.